The GPU market is basically dead right now. There just doesn't seem to be any hype, and that's the result of getting a generation of GPUs that are severely overpriced for the hardware you're getting. Doesn't necessarily mean they're not selling, but there's nothing really exciting going on when it comes to PC hardware. The RTX 40 series in particular wasn't received well, and that's a well-known fact I'm sure you're all aware about. But with these latest rumors surrounding upcoming Nvidia GPUs, is this going to be Team Green's redemption moment, or is it simply a way to keep those cash registers ringing? Let's discuss that in this video. Hey, if you enjoy content like this, drop a like, make sure to subscribe, and smash that bell so you never miss another video. Hey, what is going on, guys? Danny here. Welcome back to the channel, and I hope you've all been doing well. So I wanted to talk to you guys about the upcoming Nvidia graphics cards, or more specifically, the RTX 40 Super refresh. Now, I've made a couple videos over the past month because this whole rumor mill originated with what was supposed to allegedly be the release of an RTX 4080 Ti. An RTX 4080 Ti based on 8102 is what I'd been anticipating since Nvidia announced the 40 series last year because of that large gap between the 4090 and 4080. But given the lack of a competitive landscape and with how much demand they saw for the 4090, I think they ended up scrapping the idea. But that wouldn't have been too bad in my opinion, because they could have slotted in the 4080 Ti at the same price as what the 4080 goes for now, and then dropped the 4080 down to like $949 or $900. Also, considering how prices on the 4090s are actually on an uptrend, this would have been an easy sale for those who were on the fence but couldn't stomach the higher price tag. But then Nvidia could have come out and said, well, we have a GPU with like 90% of the performance of the RTX 4090, and it would have been 20% cheaper. And you just know the PC gaming tech media would have praised them for it, and it would have actually sold decently because people would feel like they're getting an RTX 4090 at a steep discount. Nobody really had any problems with the 4090's performance. In fact, it was the only GPU that had been praised all around because it was a huge leap over the previous gen and was $100 more expensive, so not really a price jump as that would have aligned with inflation. But anyways, that doesn't seem like that's going to be happening here or is on the roadmap for the near future, where now instead it looks like we're going to be getting 3 new graphics cards to join the RTX 40 series, but Nvidia will be bringing back the Super branding. The only other time they did this was with the RTX 20 series, which was also not received that well considering the lackluster performance and the price hikes. Then they brought the Super series almost a year later, and I do recall those models got some positive press because the prices hadn't really changed, but the performance was considerably better, or rather it was in line with what people had initially expected. So then they went, oh look, Nvidia fixed the 20 series, that's great. So this is what I predict is going to happen. And it's also another major reason why I presume Nvidia decided to go this route. Initially, I wasn't so inclined with this idea, but after giving it some thought, it actually makes sense, mainly because it'll generate the most amount of hype, and that's literally all that it boils down to. It's just a way for them to get some hype generated again in the market, get reviewers, YouTubers, influencers, whoever to start talking about the tech. Since I mentioned in the start of the video, the hype right now is just dead. There's really nothing to talk about. With 3 different cards, they'll be covering 3 different segments, so they'll be catering to a larger audience, whereas with a single RTX 4080 Ti, it would have only interested the enthusiast or high-end crowd. And Nvidia has done a lot of work these past couple of years to beat into people's brains that the days of the $300 mainstream GPU is over, and now it's that $500 to $600 price point that's what's considered mainstream. Now, as for the GPUs themselves, we'll look at this chart from a Video Cards article, and we'll talk about the article itself in just a moment, but here we can see they've slotted the new GPUs along with the rest of the 40 series GPUs, which are already available. If these specs are true, then it looks like the most interesting GPU out of the bunch will be the RTX 4070 Super, because it seems to have the largest bump in shaders compared to its original or vanilla model, going from 5,888 shaders to 7,168, so around a 22% bump in shaders, though it doesn't look like there's going to be a bump in VRAM, which is a shame because I thought that the 4070 should have come with 16 gigabytes of VRAM, so this is a missed opportunity. But given the fact that this 4070 Super will be relatively close to the 4070 Ti in terms of performance, you can probably expect, 3 to 5% delta, or if you want to compare to last gen, then 3090 levels of performance, which isn't too bad at all, especially because in this segment, you'll find that most people are gaming on 1080p or 1440p high refresh, which this level of performance is stellar, though that's also dependent on the type of game you're playing, settings, etc., ray tracing, and all of that. Next, we've got the RTX 4070 Ti Super, I can't actually believe they're going through with this name at this point. I'm convinced that in Nvidia's marketing department, they're just like, hey, let's just do it for the memes. But there are so many other names that they could have brought back, like Ultra. That would have been cool. A little homage, if you guys remember the 8800 Ultra, which was an absolute beast of a card. Anyways, going back to the topic on hand, we can see that the RTX 4070 Ti Super will have 10% more shaders than the RTX 4070 Ti, and also will be based on 8103, and will get a memory bump to 16GB, and I think that's definitely the right move. Nvidia selling the RTX 4070 Ti at $799 originally with just 12GB of VRAM was really stupid, but we can see that with these specifications, it puts it within striking distance of the 4080. If you take a look at Tech PowerUp's recent review of the 7800 XT, you can see that overall the 4070 Ti is about 15% slower than the 4080. So with this upgrade, I expect that deficit to close to around 5 to 8%. So for those that wanted 4080 levels of performance, this could be your opportunity to get it, and at a much lower price, but we'll talk about that in just a moment. Now, as for the RTX 4080 Super, it looks like this card will be the most, or rather the least interesting out of the bunch, and will be following the same footsteps as the RTX 2080 Super, a very minor upgrade over the vanilla 4080, and this could be because Nvidia may actually have some plans in the future to eventually bring out the 4080 Ti, and they don't want to cannibalize it. At the very least, they should have bumped the VRAM to 20GB, but this card isn't going to be noticeably faster than a regular 4080. You can basically just overclock an RTX 4080 and you'll have a really good idea on how the 4080 Super will perform. Ultimately, it does come down to price, and this can go three ways. Either prices will increase slightly, maybe by about $50 for each model because of the increase in cost, inflation, etc. Prices could remain the same, which is what I think will be the most likely scenario, or there are many who believe that prices may actually drop down slightly. I'm not strongly leaning towards anything here, so I want to hear from you guys in the comments below on what you're expecting in terms of pricing. If they do release the 4070 Super and its official MSRP is about $50, that'll be a pretty compelling offer. I mean, it'll basically be what the 4070 should have originally been, where you get 3080 Ti levels of performance at that $500 to $600 price point. But regardless, a year later, and I can see a lot of happy consumers. Even if the price is the same at $599, I can still see many people being compelled with the result. Now, if it does come in at a higher price, let's say $650, then I can see that being a bit of a tough sell, but I don't know, you can compare it to the 4070 Ti we have right now and say you're getting nearly the same performance, but it's still dramatically cheaper. Even with the 4070 Ti Super, I can see that being received positively because, as I mentioned earlier, it'll be a slightly cut down 4080, but $400 cheaper, and I can see a lot of 3080 owners being like, hey, this is the GPU I might upgrade to, or this is what I've been actually waiting for from the 40 series. Speaking of upgrading, you might be wondering, is the effort too little or too late? I was thinking about this, and let's be real here, this RTX 40 Super series or lineup isn't anything major, but given the whole recent fiasco surrounding new titles and their performance like Alan Wake 2, Starfield, Robocop, Forza Motorsport, and more, I can also see this pushing some people into upgrading, especially for those who are on the fence with older GPUs like the GTX 10 series, RX 5700, or an RX Vega, things like that. Now, we've spent a lot of time talking about specs, pricing, and positioning, and I haven't even talked about the actual leak, but it's nothing major. It's just packaging material or a template that was leaked by a mega-sized GPU on Twitter, and this kind of stuff has been leaked before, which is a sign that there is something on the horizon, but this also isn't too hard to fake, so do take some precaution from that. It's worth mentioning, I guess the Super logo does look a little bit different when compared to the logo on the 20 series. Also, for a release date, Copite recently tweeted CES 2024, and I said this right away in my first video when we were talking about the 4080 Ti. If there's a perfect place for them to do it, it's at CES 2024. It's the largest tech show in the world. Companies like Nvidia, AMD, and Intel generally have a pretty big spotlight on them. Alrighty guys, so we're gonna wrap it up here for this one. Let me know if you're looking forward to the RTX 40 Super cards, and until then, we'll touch base in the next video. If you guys found this video to be informative and entertaining, then leave a like. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below. Be sure to check out the video description for cool links and ways to support the channel, such as using my Amazon affiliate link. And if you're interested in seeing more content like this, then consider subscribing. I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.